So, in name of the Commission of Professional Formation and Education for World Skills America, welcome to all good morning in this May event. Today, our speaker is Roy Ramirez. He's actually manager of services from INA, from Costa Rica, the National Institute for Learning. So Costa Rica is part of World Skills America since 2010. And Aina, he is the reserve Aina. So today I'm going to talk about development of skills in a very changing area, the skill models. So now let's give the word to Mr. Roy Ramirez. So good morning to all. Can you hear me? It's a pleasure to greet you, Mr. Sergio, to greet you from Costa Rica. What a wonderful opportunity in order to share with the whole continent, friends, all the institutions here present. A very interesting subject matter I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to, please free to participate or questions. So, first of all, let me tell you, we are part of World Skills America, the great organization that unites all us towards development human values, and we are in many different countries here represented, and that unites us in this session and other webinars. So something very important, we've got a little space for Q&A at the end of my session, but at the end, you can actually post some questions in the chat. I'm going to try to answer them at the end of my session. Then also there's a little button here for translation. If you want to hear in English, you can actually search the option for where it says interpretation and have access for simultaneous translation that's being done from Sendai, authored by Sendai. Now we're going to have a session of 1 hour and then a couple of minutes more for questions. So the subject matter of today, we're going to talk about this development of skills in a high changing era as the one we're living in, and how to make as a model, how all the principles that we have all the elements in order to actually sort of answer to the challenges in these areas. As I just said, I work in the International Institute of Learning in Costa Rica, first of all, and very important information, what is Costa Rica, and some data. Also, we're going to translate all the presentation to the people that want it, and we're about 5.5 million people. We are in Central America and in an area of 55,000 square meters, and our language is Spanish, and some changes very important on our country. So regarding INA, the national, this is an institution that we're liking our birthday, 58 years of existence. So the institution is the institution that represents World Skills International and America for all Costa Rica, and we provide technical services to the country, and also the institutions from also provide different additional certifications, and we also provide some to with the National Registers of Jobs, very similar to what Senai does in Brazil and many other institutions here represented. And so first of all, I would like to say that 3 phrases that there's a QR code if you want, so you can also answer. Basically, I post 3 options of what we could be using in this moment in our professional education globally. So are we in a moment where this education is threatened by this changing world? Are we where young people are more attracted towards superior studies and letting aside as a second option the technical formation or uh, the professional formation have strengths that enable us more and more relevant for the market. So this is now QR code and here I'm going to monitor the answers. This is the first exercise that I wanted to do that you can actually give a result. Is a very important rule in the quest. In the absolute truth, this is very important regarding of the strength of this education. But of course, when we have threatened because of this changing work market. So it's very important that most of the answers we are among these two. And, there's more people given ability that we've got more strength as educational model regarding the professional education. And let us go to talk about some concepts during this session that will enable us to identify where can we place ourselves in these different scenarios. First, we are in a very changing area. We need to think a little bit about what is that area. What are we talking about? And we are actually facing when we are talking about this 21st century. What are teachers? And these kind of things actually depend on the structures or the way we actually develop our human talent in our country. It is a phrase that a phrase of Andreas Schleicher from Optic that Andrea said that we should educate people for the future, not for our past. This is something very interesting in order to think about it. How can we actually have placed our system of technical education, our thinking in educating the people as per the conditions that we used to have, the ones we could have, or future conditions. And this phrase is very clear, this need of actually understand what are the process towards scenarios that we still don't know which they will are. And we are going to make an exercise with this image here. Here you can see a couple of people, and these people, they are in 98. Let us suppose. What happens is we pick up a time machine. We go to 1989, 1998, and they've got a baby. What happens if we ask that couple what do they want for the future of their child? And what could be the answers that a couple of that year could tell us? This, my baby, or that baby should have 25, should be 25 years old in 2023. But we came to 1998. What do you think would be the answer for that question? Maybe it would be maybe traditional physician, lawyer, engineer. But if you understand, there's been such a big amount of changes that happened since 1998 to this day that generated very different scenarios on the labor market, very different. Many of these people maybe were not thinking that a child could actually dedicate to many of the different professions that today are very relevant for the market. And one, let's go to 2020, let's go back to 2023, but I want to show you this slide here. And it's not for you to read it because it's got a lot of text, but here there's a list of some of the areas that didn't exist in 98. It didn't exist even in 2000. If we should have asked that couple, they would have never tell us that he could be good in sustainable development. He could be a specialist in virtual reality or an engineer of autonomous vehicles, because these were places that did not exist in the map in 98. And we were talking about 25 years ago. So that implies that we are preparing people for a reality of work that is unsure. We do not know what we are preparing our people, because new areas will continue to appear. When I think about that little baby that we were talking about in 1998, the education institutions of that year were starting to prepare that person since they were young. All his process for working places that did not exist. So how there was that person was educated so that he today, or he or she today, is in this labor world with positions that did not exist when he was a child, or she. And this is exactly something that we're going to face more and more. Here's another QR code, and please put there what. This is a question. As per our conversation, what do you think were some of these challenges that technical professional education is facing? What are the challenges that we should face? Take into consideration the example we saw. One person is born, and the educational system where he is present is training him for that in the future he will go to a marketplace where he doesn't know what would be the possibilities of works and skills he should have. I am already seeing some of the answers. The institution should be very flexible, changing. You can put other, what would be the challenges? You could be people, the teaching professionals should be adapted to the speed of the market. It's a very important challenge. We need to give answers to the new technologies, and people, they say the education institution need to update the programs as soon as there are different shifts appear in the industry. Develop people for options on remote work, constant updating. We should fight resistance against change. I think in a market, this is a global market. That is absolutely one of the main issues I want to address here. We are visiting new technologies, and ethics very important. The curriculum needs to be improved. A series of answers, very interesting. I will be able to address those issues during my presentation. We need to be very versatile. Yeah, absolutely correct. So I am going to continue, and I want to take up many of the answers for the future. And understand that context that we were talking, some question that could be, what do you say? What are the education and the technical professionals are looking for? What do we want? What is a goal that we are looking for? And we could say that yes, as you can see, one of the objectives to prepare the people for employability, for that labor competitiveness, and for the entrepreneurship. But that question brings another one. If we are talking about preparing people for the labor place, for which one, for which market, which, not for which market, but which labor market, if the goal is to provide tools for the people to adapt and get into the economical life, working either working for a company or being his own entrepreneur person, but for which world? And here we've got something very important. If we see the evolution that we've seen in the last couple of years, we are talking about the 19th, 20th century, now we are in the 21st century, we can see that there is a series of leap forwards or stages that appeared during these years. And we can talk about the Industry 1.0 to 4.0, and we're going now to another era with all this incorporation of AI and biotechnology, so forth. And something very important is, if we pay attention of what has been happening these years, normally the educational models try to reflect what the market is requiring, or tries to develop human talent as per those necessities that were appearing in that very moment. But there is something else that happens that we need to analyze how much the educational systems have developed, how have they developed in face of the labor market. And we've got here an image that I like it a lot, and where I try to provide you a vision of what I think has been happening in this last century. So when we talk about when we try to work, and mainly the person starts from his own skills, his human skills, his own capacities, and as per we go, they start to pick up tools, and this is our first stage, where these tools enable us to strengthen or improve and provide more strength to the capacities that were natural skills. But if we are talking about the Industry 1.0, 2.0, when comes all these tailored work that the person works as a machine and develops in his working position, actually produces in a very specific hour and timing mechanically and we are trying to we want that person to behave as a machine. But then tools are to develop now, and all of a sudden we arrive to a point where we can see this X crosses this intersection point, and that happens more or less on the 50s, 60s, more or less, where the tools start to improve, and the team say, but also the person start to evolve, and the person is actually being requested that he behave not that much as a machine, and they work that integration. And then something very interesting passes in the 20th century. The machine and the start to automate things, and in that process, they don't need that much the intervention of that machine. So the human beings start to have other different roles in many of the industries. So we need to provide then new skills to those people, because now tools have automated processes. And then we arrive to the last extremes, where we see the same human at the top, at the right, that human person, and there the technology pass from automation to autonomy. So human being and the people, if the equipment have autonomy, then now we as human beings, we need to come back and to be back human again, not a machine anymore.
Because in the process, remember, we wanted the people to behave as a machine, and then the machine now is automatizing things, and so we need to be more important that the person comes back to be human back again. So it's not good anymore that you behave as a machine, but as a person. So we need to develop those skills. I I like to, when you talk about soft skills, I like to talk about human skills. It's a concept that I like it better. But if you say soft skills, for me, it's okay. But I prefer the human skills word, because when we talk about critical thinking, troubleshooting, all those, that kind of skills are the skills that differentiate us and actually empower us. Well, then equipment are more autonomous. And although we are submerged in an era of high technology, and that will continue to be, is exactly the human skills that will enable you to be relevant in the future and in all these labor dynamics and adapt to the future. And here is what this other image also to try to give you the concept, or the concept I was talking to you about. And you see you see the difference between the 19th and the 20th centuries and what we've got in the 21st century. So we've got, you see, 19, 20 centuries, what we were looking repetitive processes, very automatized processes. And that was the cycles and the process of the factories of repetitive processes, and in the way we measured the success in a company or in that environment was from what we could call an scalable efficiency. So today I'm doing 10, tomorrow I can do 11 or 20. So it's continue to producing and producing and growing that production. That was the way in the 20th century we measured things. If we talk about the people, I want the person was static. You were trained for that profession, that area, and he worked all life there. I'm a lawyer, I will retire as a lawyer. An electrician, I will retire as an electrician. That was the concept. I studied something, and that was for the whole life in the same position, absolutely linked to that profession for my whole life. This is another, and also regarding the structures of the institutions, they were very, like in a pyramid. We've got the leaders, sub leaders, the other departments underneath those leaders, but the information run vertically from the different from the top down. So that was a context in the 19th and 20th century, but in the 21st century now we've got different challenges. We're not talking about repetitive work, but changing work. So you do not measure things as a machine. If I am doing 10 today, tomorrow I will need to do 20. Today I do 10, tomorrow 30, the day after tomorrow 5, depending on the context, the environment of the market, and the processes are always shifting. If we talk about the way we measure all these, we've passed from this model here of scalable efficiency to a more of learning, a scalable learning process. Every day I need to learn something. I need to grow in knowledge in this construction of knowledge and continue to learn. And the institutions start to re-engineer themselves based on that learning of the environment. So I don't measure myself only by numbers. I need to measure myself by impact. And that is the way I will be transformed during the process. Then people, not the concept that the person has this profession for the whole life, but you grow and you develop yourself through life, and you learn through your life, and you learn through your life, and you change through your life. So if we measure and compare what that baby started to study when he went to university or in high school or technical when he was a teenager, and now with 25, that baby, he is something in a technical area different from when he was, and he ended in a position, a profession that didn't exist 25 years ago. For example, drone operators didn't exist, or engineers of autonomous cars. What did they study in the first time, and how did they do in order to adapt to this new need? So we see these contexts that where, although I have a certain amount of knowledge when I was 18, then this person needed to have access to new ways of updating in order to adapt to for the new opportunities that appeared. And the others were also the organizations. They used to have this pyramid structure to a more like a network structure, teams or how performance teams. That's all another concept. So I can see a question here is how is how are our institutions are structured in our countries, are structured from the left or the right? As so, how do we proceed and we develop and we measure ourselves as per the 20th century, or are we adapted for the 21st century? So if someone asks to actually create a pair of trousers of the future, but you're going to measure the amount of service I put, automatically the process is useless, because how do you know that what happens if the pair of trousers of the future will not have a zipper, for example? So the way I measure organization today is establishes and match the possibilities that I've got for to flexible so measure only by numbers could actually be a bad idea. So something very important to analyze in these images, if we're thinking in preparing people for a changing area, is our organization prepared in order to face the challenges of this new changing area, or are we maintaining a scheme of last century? So here I want to summary with these concepts. There are words that continue to be very updated, but others are more from the 20th century and others are from the 21st century. Normally we used to say that we need to be efficient, and because we need to be, these are important words that need to continue to be relevant today, but are words from the 20th century. Efficiency and efficacy, these are they're working like a machine. How many buttons I need to press here or there? How many pieces of apparel I have got here to produce and producing per minute? 21st century, I think the pandemic was a clear example for the whole humanity, is an example of it, because it's not enough to be efficient and have efficacy. We need to be flexible in order to adapt and be pertinent to the moment. So if I've got a restaurant, and all of a sudden, I've got my process, a very efficient process in my, I produce a lot or whatever the dish, but if all of a sudden appears a pandemic, I close my restaurant, and there's no way to have access to the client because the clients are not coming to my restaurant. In that moment, regardless of the efficiency of my kitchen, my business will die. I need to flexibilize, adapt myself in order to continue to be pertinent for the labor market. So the 21st century brings that kind of challenges, because we understand that if we are talking about AI, 1 year ago, we were not talking about that. Now, today, we're talking through remotes, and we need to reanalyze how can we benefit all these tools in order to leverage all the work we do. We cannot actually stay in what we're doing. Or we are talking what has happened a couple of months ago. They will change today. They will change today, and the opportunities we are going to shift faster and faster. If I maintain one scheme, thinking about it only in efficiency, I will never have the opportunity in order to survive for the future because we are in a moment that we need to be flexible and adaptable if we want to continue to be pertinent for the moment. These images actually makes a summary of everything we've been talking today. The labor market has changed a lot. And what about our educational model? If we see on the right, if I need you to work like this, you need to be prepared as that. And you see this parallel between in a traditional schoolroom where the students get in a line with a uniform, they sit in very clear spaces, and you've got the authority that will tell you what you need to learn. Why? Because at that time, that was a market. You get there, you sit there, and you repeat and you obey the authority, right? So there is a logic of preparing those people in this context at the right. If the working model is the one I've got at my left, but our classes continue to be like the ones at the right, but the labor market is not like that anymore. So when we want to prepare people for a labor market that has evolved that much, if we go back in time and we tell someone that this guy or lady that's laying, this guy that's laying there with a computer, he's working, someone from 20 years ago would say, no, this guy's not working. He is working. That guy is working for one of the biggest companies in the world. Yeah, and that's his working position. But the lady that's there at his side with some coffee at his side, or this other guy that's with his headsets, he's also working, and he's also working in the new concept we saw. So we need to understand that even we need to understand how we need to plan our spaces for the person to execute works per the labor market, and the labor market is changing that much and disruptive. How can then we prepare people for the work if we continue to have the same criteria as in the past? So that's why I was telling you, if you're preparing people for work, what workplace? But what we are seeing now, these are jobs that may be in the future we are going to have many different ones. So the concept that we are in a very changing working place, that's also linked to the fact that we are in an era that when we talk about the market, we cannot only talk about the local market. We need to take into consideration the criteria of the local. It's a concept I'm going to talk to you about this, but we need to take in consideration, of course, the criteria of your country, your region, and the circumstances and the economic dynamics of your region. But be clear that the people in this place are preparing to a world that's absolutely interconnected. And the local market is not a local market, it's a global market today. This, what you're seeing, that this is a process we participated in 2020 in a skills camp, part of the skills process that we prepared globally, very full of opportunities. And I participate in one that regarding robotic integration systems. And something very interesting, I didn't know, I knew nothing about that. So, but I participated in order to obtain information, and my intention was to be an observer only. So when I got into the program, I came an observer. No, it was there's no observer here. You're going to participate in the process. And that was in full pandemic, and we were in our countries absolutely closed. And for me, it was incredible that I was, yes, able with different commands from home, be able to move that robot. And that robot was in Russia. And in that process, one of the participants said, but in my country, we don't have companies that could have that technological skills. I remember that who was actually the director of the skill camp said, you do have no idea how many people is working for our company from their own country. So at the end of the day, the labor market is not only in with your local context. You are in a global market. This is a lot of platforms. I've placed here a couple of examples only. This is a platform that labor marketplaces where we've got that exchange of opportunities. It's something very important that you can leverage, that the people of your country could have access to this kind of opportunity, but you need to have very clear that people from out of your country can also pick up opportunities in your country, could actually still these opportunities work on those small jobs that could appear. So it's very important that when you prepare people, if you want to make it in a very changing cost, that you need those people that to be prepared for this shifting world and be able to navigate in this context. And that's why it's very important to work through under global quality standards. And well, that we saw, I love this phrase from Klaus Schwab, that that the chair of the World Economic Forum. It is a very 20th century. So the big fish will eat the small fish. That was a thinking. Now that phrase is not true. It is new. Today is the fast fish that will eat the slow fish. That's why our people, our institution, when we develop this technical talent we do not want to be that big fish. We to be the most important, the biggest in your country, solid, with lots of prestige. If we think if you want to continue to be pertinent for the future and for the need of our people, maybe you are going to be wrong, because the institutions need to be fast and answer with speed, because a fast fish will eat the slow fish. This is a couple of examples, and maybe you can pick up the history of Netflix. You've got at the right Blockbuster, that was at the time the biggest video club chain or banner in the world. And when Hastings proposes a new model for the Blockbuster, says no, that doesn't make any sense to send have a system of signatures of subscription better to, maybe you don't even know what Blockbuster was better to say it. So what they charge the best was a fines. So that's a subscription model made no sense. So we see a big fish here that was Blockbuster facing a small fish that was proposing a business model fish. The big fish doesn't exist today, and the then small fish is a big fish today. So understanding that opportunity, you see the result. You see, this is another model. We've got the traditional taxes and all the discussions that we've got about platforms as Uber. And we continue to do the same thing. We can agree or not agree whether Uber should be there or should not be there, whether the taxes are safe or whatever you want to say, what you want to say. But regardless on that, the important is that the model has changed. Technology brought shift to this model. If I don't give this leap forward, I will be not updated. That concept that you need to go in the middle of the street and raise your hand changes for a different model. So an organization, an institution, a company needs to understand that the model that you need to actually to give very fast that leap forward, because we are in an area of fast fish, not big fishes. So this is an example. This is I want to comment a little bit what it says. This is something that appeared in El País from Spain, because they make an assessment for the different institutions that provide professional institutions. They talk about university, but they were technical about the of technical programs, the part of technical information education, and they make an assessment based on other alternatives, platforms as Google. They were talking about LinkedIn, e-learning, and they were explaining how these platforms were actually like swallowing other markets because there were people ready to train people, and the programs were updated very fast as a counterposition against university. And the important thing on this journalist note, seeing the context where you can see platform offering agile, fast courses, international certifications like YouTube or many others, that we can see when they ask these 34 universities, they of thinking in evolution towards it, only 5 of them, of those big institutions, consider that they should reinvent or re-engineer themselves. Only 5 were thinking about reinventing themselves. The others think that they continue to be that big fish swimming among the fast fish. They continue to think that they continue to believe that they could be from the 19th century in the 21st century. Can we repeat it? Netflix against Blockbuster, Uber against tax common cabs? The issue is, as advances appear, any other advancements or new strategies, we need to be flexible enough in order to adapt. The concept is we want to prepare human talents in this changing area, then we need to be changing as well. We need to be absolutely flexible. If not, it will be very difficult that we continue to be pertinent to our days. How does it the skills model respond to this? What are the features of the skills models that provides us the tools for this challenge? Let us see some of these concepts. First, it's very important to actually to understand what are the 6 main areas of world skills as a whole. We're talking about 3 big areas. One is to inspire, influence, or develop. We've got an investing research, cooperation, promotion, technical competition, professional development, education, training. And these 6 axes or pillars have special features, and they leverage with each other from strategies that enable us also to pick up information and have enough feed for thought for the pertinent decision-making processes. Normally, we talk a lot about the technical competition, but we need to have other things also that provide us more tools. In Costa Rica, besides that, we've been working with 4 big pillars that will enable us to absorb all that dynamics. We've got a pillar that what we look is to pick up work as a platform, everything that we do in worst case America, another institution, and the capacity, all that network to exchange information, to be and have that market intelligence and being able to understand what are the trends that are arriving, what are the national standards that should be adapted to international standards, so the people that we prepare continue to be relevant for the market. We also talk about a pillar that says focus on updating information of the teacher or the professor, that they need that if we want to have that capacity of flexibility, an important factor is our teaching personnel. And when we were talking, then we are going to show you this presentation. One of the things that the private sector was saying against university, they were saying in these platforms or in these trainings that are changing a lot, people that are giving the classes are also people that are actually working in the companies, are people that are active in the labor market. They were not only professors and just left that market, they continue to be active in the labor market. So it's very important in that updating of the information, not only give the opportunity for the people to grow, but that the the person that teaches, the professor, the person that provides education will have that link with the market and not to be isolated in an institution and continue to be in contact with the industry through direct processes of activities in the different professional institutions that be connected with the market, with what is happening in order to continue to be pertinent. And you also be able to have process as per international standards. So we've got the other pillar that has to do of updating of services. How can we actually update our curricula in order to have criteria to update all our educational spaces and to assure the quality and have the best practices for the continuous improvement. And the other process is the development and improvements in the education and position them as champions. So we are talking about the students, our pupils, and we're talking about our educational professionals. The person, the champion, is not the one that's got a medal. Champion for the countries that have much more, have a lot of years in skills, are those that involve and engage in the process of professional education. Angel Gurria said that in the 20th century, the goal of the currency of the world would be the technical professional. And we understand what we've talked about. We've got the human factor will be the one that will make you relevant in this context. And in the area of the automatization, you need to invest in people. So the concept, one of the most valuable concepts that are developed by WorldSkills is that our people are the center of the process and they are the champions. We need to go actually to highlight that human talent as the most relevant part, so that this information is very attractive. It's not so that the labor market provides them best opportunity. We've got in skills different processes. That's why I was telling that these 6 axes and these 4 pillars articulate themselves in order to actually leverage among themselves the technical competitions, the networks that create through the expert faculties. And these are works that we do. Another process, very important, is a Champions Trust. That's like young ambassadors, very well processes that we try to find that peer-to-peer learning, that youngster be an ambassador and a promoter of the professional education towards his colleagues. Process for entrepreneur or change makers and the skill camps and the mentoring processes. These are different strategies of the skills models that enable us to connect and continue to be relevant. I want to share with you 5 principles. See, key principles that skills model has in order to face those challenges that we've been talking about. The first principle, the first strategy is this one, collaborative knowledge management, and that is actually going to talk about If there is something relevant in this area we're living, is that the knowledge we need to, build it. So we need to people to learn how to learn. The person that learns how to learn is a person that's not like that symbol of pause. He continues to rebuild himself during the whole life. So the rebuild myself during my whole life may be people may sound like a bit like tiresome. If you're talking about the traditional forms, yes, of course, you don't want to go back there. But I want to rebuild myself as per my proposal that I've got as a person, and in order to maintain relevant in the labor context. And one way is in the in this, Busquets has a lot of that. Here we've got some of the examples. The technical competitions are very good for those processes. And also we've developed, and we've got the opportunity to develop it under this model, processes that could be online or face-to-face. And we've done that with Senai and others, and with many different organizations, where we were able to connect our educational people from other institutions, and not only on the same area, also even from areas that are in the same value chains and level. So we can talk in chef with another chef. Why not? For example, one chef with a nutritionist, or someone someone regarding in environmental things, and that will enable you to grow and be more and more adaptable. Another concept is aiming towards excellence. That's another concept that we've got in the skills models. And so traditionally, we come from a model where we said in order to show that someone knows something, has a certain skill, we need to know whether his person did or not didn't. Let's suppose we are building a chair. Did he do it or not? In case of skills, we've got other things that are also very important. It's not only whether he was enabled to achieve something, but he adds something very relevant, is the timing. Did it okay? But in which time? They say with a certain, what are the amount of resources that he used, and as per which quality standard. So we add more models for that development of skills that actually connects us directly with the relevance of the market at that time. Maybe so I sometimes we need to maximize not only the resources, we need to do it within a certain timing, and needs to answer a certain quality levels. And our processes want the people to actually to develop the skills, taking in account the four elements. And for that, skills gives us a lot of information that we've got from the standards, as the technical description, the test, is infrastructure list, that things that will enable us to have standardized models and standardized criteria, and develop our process of continuous improvement. Another important issue was this number 3, the expert networks and student networks, something that our model has, and we need to leverage much more. In our context, it's very important in these processes of competition, of mentoring, of camps, skill camps, to connect our people. So we've got people that are within that network of training people, and when someone needs to make a change in his career, he can actually ask from people from different countries in order to have a good, a fast feedback. And that happens the same with our students. And it's got that very important role of being ambassador towards some other peers for the technical education. In our case, We've benefit. We have used a lot the faculty of professionals and experts that has got world skills, and we have had processes that we've developed in many different subject matters, everything that has to do tourism, sanitation, things that we had lots of doubts, and also things regarding technologies, platforms, computing. So we were connecting people from all the world connected with our teaching professionals or educational professionals. And so we exchanged knowledge, and we understood what was going on in the whole world and how we could continue to improve. Some processes were done online, and the concept of champion is a concept of very good process to position the person, the student, as someone of high value for the competitiveness of all the country. So, of course, we've got our technical competitions or skill competitions as one of the main factors we've got in our model. So, 1 month ago, we had a presentation from Yesid from what are the technical competitions. And if you haven't seen, just try to find the talk because it's in the YouTube channel of World Skills America, because it actually gives us a clear idea of the value of the technical competition to actually feed for the processes. When we talk about technical competition or skill competitions, you need to talk about in this feeling of what is our proposal. Since we are children, we like to go to play and have challenges. If we don't have something, we do it, and we do it with our friends, with whatever we had at reach of hand. So we had that possibility of actually developing that network of friends, and the competition always generated that push toward excellence and gives us a great degree of satisfaction of actually facing the challenges. In this context, someone that doesn't have this, is not prone towards change, someone that says, I am here and I don't want to adapt, that's a person that it will not be able to adapt to our 21st century. Eh, So we are not imposed, we are rebuilding ourselves constantly. And one of the most important elements of this is to generate that sense of achievement of facing my challenges and feel that I am actually achieving my goals. I like the competition, uh, not only as a process, as a show itself of the competition. The competition is a model for the continuous improvement. So it's a process that's a training based in challenges and matches, knowledge, be, do, living, all the processes. But also is something that dignifies and gives value to the personal professional. We could talk a lot about the technical competition a lot, but actually, I would I would recommend the webinar from Senik, because it's a very good explanation of all the value that we can draw out from it. In general, as I was commenting with the chart, in the this learning not only is good, not only, but it helps us to reconnect our human skills with our, and also a sense, it's very emotional, it's joyful, and if you feel love, you get passionate for this, you won't feel that is not difficult to reinvent yourself. When you find in your technical area that all that emotion, that sense of proposal, the person have ingredients in order to continue to grow in his life. This is a very good example that we used the competitions for. something that we want, that the competition are good for in order to improve our educational spaces. Here, you've got a space that was done with one of our teachers, that we had a workshop where we had the tools on one side, the area, cutting area, so we generated a lot of transport, this lodging of the person, and so the person actually prepared the offices as a competition area using the normal standard, using the dynamics that we've got for the pilot projects for a competition. We prepare the workshop, and that actually helped us a lot in order to understand the quality of the processes. And last, I think the important, the most relevant aspect is that puts in the core of everything the person, and the proposal that we've got is the fuel that pushes us forward is the person in the core. And something very important is the way we put, how we place our students in our institutions. The important thing is not the person, no, it's the profession or the institution, it's not the institution, the teams, it's not our classrooms, it's the pupil, the student, and that's why he and she should be the core, and all the structures should be prepared towards in order to develop their processes in order to benefit that person. It's very important to take into consideration that needs to be done as per global standards. Our students in this moment, they, besides all the normal technical skills, they need to have something important, that is how to handle myself, whether in my country or internationally, because they will start to work with people from their country and other countries. That concept of international relationships, how to communicate myself, should be embedded in the way we prepared our people. That was very important. And I want to propose 3 elements that are very basic regarding the issue of putting the person in the core, in the center. That our institution, we should have teachers that inspire, that actually would actually have the student in their proposals, not only one that will inspire the student. We need to have institutions where one of the most important pillars uh, of technical information, if you don't have processes that push towards the life of the students, in order to form uh, people that are relevant for the future marketplace in psychology, connected in all the processes, making and a follow-up through the whole training process, and that life would be fantastic, so that that person has all the necessary tools in order to adapt to the labor market that's always changing, and everybody here is a champion. All the systems should be sent in order to provide service to the most important things that are our students. So last, I would like to leave you with 2 main messages. One is what is going and towards where we are going. We came from an era of mass consumption, and now we are in an era of customization, thinking that a course or a program is for all, for ever. That was the 20th century concept. Now we need to think in more customized services, not only in very big services, micro certification, micro courses, in all that nano concepts of training the people. For example, we years ago, we sat in front of television to see what film was on television. That was era of mass consumption. You had a film, and that was a film to see. In customization, I can put the film I choose, when I choose, in the device I want, in the language I want. everything has been turned towards the person. We were centered into machine. We were centered today in human beings. We have more autonomy. The person needs to develop more the human skills because the tools are more autonomous. So we had to have that mentality of property. This is my knowledge now in an area of a sharing area, and that's a model skills. This is one of the things that enables that the skills models continue to grow, but we've got the possibility of connect ourselves in networks that enable us to continue to grow, as we've done in WorldSkills Americas. And more towards data efficiency, and more towards consumption, now more sustainability. And another concept, we were talking about globalization. We've got, we could call it localization, have clear the importance of the competitiveness globally, matching it with the importance of our local importance. What you are seeing in your region connected with a global issue. So one, you cannot have only one with the mentality of the country. We need to have the chip of the globalization. Is something important is remember that this learning that's scalable against efficiency, learn creating in order to develop more knowledge. If we talk about the future of labor, we don't know what would be the future jobs, but we are sure is that someone that is relevant for the future is a person with these characteristics can identify the problems and could identify programs before they show up, and then can pick up value from that. That's a future of labor and work. And the future of the work, it would be to identify problems and opportunities before they appear on the market. You learn collectively and learn the value of the challenge and the person always in the core of all the process. And we need to have we be moved because of the proposal of our institution organization. This is a fact in the 70s, when at the end of the 70s, Steve Jobs goes to his team to Xerox PARC, where we were developing a lot of projects, and he stops and he shows a little small device that they was calling mouse. And he sees that project, and he was working on that. He had lots of ideas. When he came up from here, he said to his team, let us to stop everything we are doing. We are going to stop all our projects. We are concentrate in developing this mouse, this operational system. We're going to change absolutely everything. Now, one of the persons said, but if we do that, basically, we are going to destroy our company. We're going to stop all our advancements, all everything we are. And Steve Jobs says, yeah, I prefer to do it myself before the rest of the world does it. And that's very important that we need to have in mind. So be you the first one to reinvent before the world obliges you to. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure to be here with you. Ready if there's any consultation from Costa Rica, a big hat to all. Yes, we've got two questions, Mr. Roy. The first one is from Cecilio Rosinki from Colombia. He asked, very interesting, your speak. Thank you very much, Roy. My question is regarding the times needed that takes educational institutions to develop training programs. Here in Colombia, we've detected the need of that could take 1 year or a year and a half before we've got the program ready to offer it. In that time, with the current dynamics, the program could start. It's already observed before beginning. How can we handle that situation to assure the opportunity and relevance? Thank you very much. Yes, see the big hug from here. Actually, this is one of the biggest challenges we all have, and that takes me to something very important. In our institution, is being more important the proposal or the process, and normally we've got structures from the 20th century and procedures from the 20th century try to face the 21st century. And we need to run the procedure, understand what's the step A, B. If I don't have B ready, I cannot think in C. So we put the procedure in before everything else. So when we see remember the Spanish journal that he was saying, he was showing that these platforms, these models that are appearing today, they've got an immediate capacity, response capacity. And we've been growing, that's why, because we've been growing with machine-like models. That what happens if a pandemic arrives and changes you everything. So the most important thing here that we need an institution should have in an education institution is have mechanisms that will enable you to take decisions the very moment and speed up the process in that very moment. If we see the routes by which the programs are developed, sometimes what sometimes they need to pass through procedures through some lots of stages and stages that are not necessary. So we need to speed up the processes, the way we project the services. We've made different changes in order to reduce amount of forms, 85% in order for programs and 65% for courses. And we still have space to improve in order to speed up more when we answer to those needs and also be able to have other alternatives. It's something that we've been looking for. Not only that, we can think that something we address with one program, one course, when we could have also other alternative transfer knowledge. And we need to, for example, skill camps, hackathons, or webinars, these kind of activities that are like micro fast services should be leveraged in our institute so that we can do things as fast as the more we anchored to a structure or a procedure, the less the possibility of being agile. So what we've been doing is review the processes so that we can understand what is actually necessary and something that is there because it used to be there. And actually something these are not useful to provide services to the people, and that's one of the most important challenges. And that is what we've been trying to do. Also, something very important is that having something like WorldSkills, where you can have standards and contact with different experts at any time. That WorldSkills should be a source of information that I will maintain as linked to those changes. And the last thing is, in order to have that level of response, we cannot be reactive. We need to be more proactive. That's why that the standards of skills actually renew every 2 years. That enables us in order to have a very good monitoring. Thank you very much, Salman from Mexico, for sharing this. The question is, INA has sponsorships to participate in WorldSkills. In such case, how did you manage to find this support? Thank you very much, Salomon. A pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much. In this moment, we do not have sponsorships. We've been considering, started to think about something very important that it has to do with my prior comments. We need to rethink the whole skills model. from 2019-18, we started to make a change, and we created a model a document that I could share with you. Why? Because we needed tools and elements not only to pick up the benefits of the competitions, but also that all the leverage the four pillars of skills, use them in order for the continuous improvement. So we are in this moment, the model has been approved, and now we are trying to put it to bring it to apply it in order to have the legal tools that will enable us to get down to get in touch with enterprises. We've got a different structure when we need to handle the skills process. We need to find a way that legally enable us to have build out those relations with these sponsors. So we don't have that link today, but we are building something in order to have trying to leave some space in order to open the way, in order to find sponsorships, in order to collaborate with process. And I can't share the document that we have prepared, maybe could help you in picking some ideas. We've got another question. Which countries of the continent have advanced faster in changing with more active people, put more active people in the market? That is a question for the whole continent, I think. Not only, I think Sergio can tell us a little bit how they do it in Senai or Sena, but I think that definitely there are models. INA will also advance on that to leverage that the people should be more connected and bring people that are active in the industry to come to the institution and take people from our institution to the industry. Let me pick up the example of what I saw with an institution in Singapore. Something that I saw, all the teachers needed to be active with or be linked with professional associations. So when I asked them whether how much did it take them to validate our program, they were saying, hey, it should take us nothing because everybody knows me already. When I go, they know, everybody knows who I am. I am part of the professional association. I participate in the different associations, absolutely very well related. So that difference between the academy and what's actually going on in the market starts to be close. That is being breached if we promote our teachers to participate more and more in the dynamics of the different industries. And instead, they cut that opportunity. We need to promote that kind of opportunity. So there are no more questions. So Roy Ramirez, thank you very much for sharing that wonderful work that INA is developing. We would like to we'll ask you authorization in order to share the recordings. Thank you to all for participating in this webinar. I hope that you have actually benefited from this very challenging subject matter for all the institutions, for the educators. Thank you very much for Royce or Else Escolar from El Salvador that are the responsible for the Commission of Educational and Professional Education. What skills our translator, Mr. Javier, and even our next webinar. Thank you very much. I will send you the invitation. Thank you very much.